Hey everyone, it's Jack here, Norwich City. A late Sunday night upload. What on earth is going on with me? We are a week out from the Championship season starting. By this time next week, we will know the result of Norwich City's opener against Oxford United at the Kassam. It's a really exciting opener actually, and I found myself today watching Celtic against Kilmarnock on the telly and thinking, if I'm dropping myself to watching SPL football. No disrespect, while also disrespecting Scottish Premier League football. I'm not an avid viewer of the Scottish divisions. If I'm watching this and actually enjoying it, it shows that my need and my want for football is probably at fever pitch. I think the Euros kind of suppressed that appetite a little bit, but there's nothing quite like domestic football returning, is there? And fresh things at Norwich City, and that excites me. I was kind of done, and I was a bit bored of the old era, I'll be honest. David Wagner, Stuart Webber, etc. It felt as if it wasn't going anywhere, and that made me really struggle to kind of get up for it. But Johannes Hoftorup and Ben Napper, the Atanasio group getting more and more involved, that new lease of life has really excited me, and the season gets underway very soon. It does now mean that the pre-season is done in terms of our warm-up games. 6 games in total, 1 win, 2 draws, 3 defeats. It kicked off at Northampton Town with a 3-0 win, a 3-0 defeat at Club Bruges, followed by a 1-1 draw against Standard Liège. We were then at Carrow Road against FC Magdeburg, lost 1-0, 2-2 in Austria against Hoffenheim, and things were finished against St. Pauli, losing that game 3-1. So in terms of on-paper results, a really disappointing pre-season. But we all know you can't read too much into the results of pre-season, but of course it gives you a flavour of the kind of philosophy that the manager is trying to instill, which players are maybe at the forefront of the manager's mind. It's obviously really difficult to read into too much because obviously things happen like yesterday where Gabi Sarra is sold to Galatasaray, having featured in all of the pre-season games. So there will be players that we've watched a lot in pre-season that won't feature in the championship campaign, and vice versa. Of course, the summer transfer window doesn't close until the end of August, so it gives a fair few games of the championship season, and of course there's a cup competition involved in those openers as well to get our teeth stuck into. It's always slightly off-putting, isn't it, that squads can go into the start of the campaign and be different 7 games in with ins and outs, but that's the way it is. A couple of transfers, Jose Cordoba, the most notable, £3 million, and Ben Crescene. I'm going to go with Big Ben for now. He was £1.5 million. So defensive reinforcements made after losing a fair few. Sam McCallan, Dibianulis, Ben Gibson, Danny Bart, etc., etc. That list was quite long in terms of defensive outgoing. So a couple of reinforcements there. It does feel as if reinforcements still need to be made, and Johannes Hoftorup was asked if there will be more incomings before Oxford. His response was yes, so clearly there are a few close, and there are a few that they're wanting to get done. You do look at the squad that faced St. Pauli in that final pre-season game, and it's basically the same as last season without Gabi Sarra, and that's slightly concerning because for the most part of last season, that squad wasn't really good enough, and I think that was partly down to David Wagner. But you look at that squad and take out Gabi Sarra, who had 28 goal contributions, 14 goals, 14 assists. Suddenly you're looking a little bit light. So it was Angus Gunn in goal, Stacey, Hanley and Sorensen at centre-back with Ben Crescene at left-back, McLean, Nunes and Gibbs, Rowe, Sainz and Sargent. So in terms of the front 4, let's say, I'm in a fairly comfortable position with that. You've obviously got Kamara that can come in, that's featured on and off so far this pre-season. So in terms of the midfield areas, it's okay-ish. There still needs to be a bit of reinforcement, and you would hope after just banking 25 million quid that will come. it's that centre-back pairing that concerns me, and I don't think Johannes Hofthorpe quite knows his preferred starting two at the moment. We've seen a few different combinations. It's still to be seen whether Cordoba is going to be fit for Oxford. He's picked up some sort of tight hamstring, I think, or something. So that's slightly concerning. Brad Hills has been in and out. That would obviously be a fairly big call to chuck in a young lad, but these big calls need to be made. And to be honest, Hills or Sorensen, I'm picking Brad Hills. Would I be comfortable going into Oxford away with a centre-back pairing of Grant Hanley and Jakob Sorensen? The answer to that is no. And that defence is the most worrying part for me. We have leaked goals all pre-season. We've not once looked comfortable. And as I say, take pre-season with a pinch of salt. But when you've seen a pattern from the entirety of last season extend into pre-season, that is slightly concerning. It's the defensive areas for me that need serious work. We've kind of, so that needs work. Let's start with the positives. Of pre-season. I thought Johnny Rowe has looked really sharp. I thought he was, of course, naturally slightly off colour towards the end of last season. He'd played a lot of football. There'd been a serious injury in there, so it's nice to see him back. He's scoring goals, looks sharp, clearly looks up for it. I think he will be a Norwich City player next season, so that's good. Brad Hill I've been really impressed with. Had heard really good reports from his loan move last season, and I think that's carried into pre-season. I think there's an exciting season ahead for Brad Hills, and I hope that he's not loaned out. I can't imagine he will be, famous last words. But that feels positive. And actually, the retention of most of our quote-unquote sellable assets has been fairly good. I think we all expected Gabby Sarro to be sold. 25 million quid-ish when you include add-ons. Not a bad fee. Maybe would have wanted a bit more. Equally, he's finished 6th in the Championship, so it'd be tough to demand more than that for him. Johnny Rowe's still here. Josh Sargent's still here. Borja Science is still here. Angus Gunn is still here. Kenny McLean is still here. So at time of recording, we've retained most of our better players, which is good and probably more than I expected. In terms of negatives, I think that list is probably longer than the positives. The Adam Eder palaver hasn't helped at all, and I was disappointed with his behaviour in terms of clearly trying to force that move to Celtic. Who knows whether that will happen or not. I think if the price is right, he will be off. The squad clearly still needs work, and the season starts in 6 days' time. I feel like we would have liked to have been a little bit more prepared. Things can change in the next week. Might bring in a couple more players. At the end of the day, though, they will be dropped straight into the squad, having had no pre-season with Johannes. So that's slightly disappointing. An obvious one, but we are now without Gabby Sarro. And whichever way you look at it, that is a huge, huge miss. He was the first name on the team sheet week in, week out. Single-handedly won us points last season. And that will be a massive loss. Now, I'm by no means saying that he's irreplaceable, but someone's going to have to step up to that level, or we're going to have to make serious reinforcements. We shall see. The starting 11 still isn't concrete. I must say, I was trying to, before this video, work out what my starting 11 would be going into Oxford, and I've not really got an answer for you. It is that defensive line that gives me slight concerns. I think Ben Crescene, Big Ben, will start at left back, unless we bring in another left back. I think Jack Stacey will start at right back. And then the centre-back pairing, well, that's a lottery. I think for me, I'd definitely have Brad Hill starting. I think I'd make that call and get him in there. Let's kind of set a statement that we're willing to give youngsters a shot, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what Johannes Hofthorpe has been brought in for, to develop youth. And we've got some talented youth players, so why play a Shane Duffy when, arguably, for a lot of last season, he wasn't really up to it. And then whoever plays next to him. Now, it would be bold to throw Cordoba and Hills both in there. I don't think Cordoba will start. He didn't start against St. Pauli. There's a tightness in his hamstring. I don't think he'll start this one. Probably introduced maybe in that Stevenage Cup game. So I'll let you decide who starts in at centre-back other than that. And to be honest, in front of those guys, it's going to be basically be the same side. I know we've been rumoured with Cannon and a couple of other players, so we shall see. But it looks pretty much unchanged from last season. So that's where we're at. It's going to be a fascinating season. I've been sort of working my way through the various season preview podcasts and articles and magazines, and the Championship looks incredibly intriguing this season. There looks to be sort of 10 or 12 teams that could quite easily get relegated. It is going to be a proper scrap, I think, this season. I don't really see a squad that is miles better than each other. I think the better teams in the Championship this season, it's really going to boil down to philosophy, depth in squad, and we shall see. My expectations aren't high. That doesn't mean that I'm not excited for the season. I'm really intrigued to see how this all goes. I think we're going to have to be incredibly patient. This clearly is a transition. This squad, let's be honest, probably isn't how Johannes Hofthorpe wants it at the moment. I suspect this will take a season, if not more, to get it into a shape where he feels comfortable to really get his ideas across. But let's hope that there are signs that we're moving in the right direction. We're at least trying to put those parts in place, and now it's up to how the players adapt to it and how we get on. But I don't think this is going to be an instant fix, and I think this will take time. So it all depends if fans are willing to be patient enough. If we get pumped 4-0 on the opening day against Oxford, then maybe my patience might not last very long. But I think I'm willing to give this time and patience. Of course, we need to see something, whether that's style of play or youngsters being embedded in and it working, or a really exciting transfer. Something needs to happen to keep us on board. Results are expected, and if we're being brutally honest, this is, in terms of money spent and wages, etc., one of the better sides in the Championship. So there will be expectation. And let's see how we get on. At the end of the day, we were pretty poor last season, and there was a lot of heat for David Wagner, and we still finished 6th. So there will be comparisons drawn naturally, whether that's helpful or not. And we shall see. Couple of questions for you guys. What would your starting 11 be based on the current squad at time of recording or whenever you're commenting for the Oxford game? And how are you feeling going into this season? What are your expectations? Maybe let me know where you're expecting/hoping that we finish in the Championship this season. If you're watching this before midnight on Sunday, we have a new merch range out that you can find with the link in the description, and there's free delivery until Sunday at midnight, so not long left to take advantage of that. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.